Our story begins inside of the Jedi Temple as Anakin Skywalker is entering the council chambers. His mind was buzzing with a million different thoughts and feelings, as he could almost feel the tension growing in the Force. He just discovered the truth. No, Chancellor Palpatine willingly told him the truth about him being the Sith Lord, because he genuinely trusts Anakin to join him. Anakin wondered how long Palpatine knew about Padme. Could he really save her from dying? How did he know about the visions? Has he been controlling the war this entire time? Anakin nearly fell into his council seat, putting his head into his hands, forcing himself to take deep breaths. With all the chaos of war and all of his nightmares, Anakin had forgotten just how calming this room could actually be. Despite not exactly having fond memories in these council chambers, being judged for thinking about his mother, nearly being denied ever being a Jedi, Ahsoka leaving the Order, being denied the rank of Master, so much has happened in this room. But for the first time, Anakin was all alone in the council. He closed his eyes, felt whatever peaceful currents of the Force were still remaining, and he also now realized just how tired he actually was. Anakin hadn't gotten more than a few hours of sleep since returning to Coruscant after killing Dooku, and this was one of the few moments where he was actually alone. And it's not like he was getting a full night's rest out in the battlefield every day before returning. It had genuinely been weeks, if not months, since he last truly slept well. And so today, as Anakin sat down, he allowed his mind to drift off. He knew the nightmares would come to him. They always did these days, but he thought that perhaps he could truly see what happens in these visions, try to analyze them more before waking up. Anakin wrestled with the thought of going to help Windu or help Palpatine, but before he could choose either one, he did drift to sleep. And this time, something truly unexpected would happen. There were no visions. It was as if the dark side of the Force was distracted. So Anakin was finally sleeping peacefully, and meanwhile, the greatest duel in centuries was taking place in the executive building. Mace Windu repositioned himself as Darth Sidious flipped around the desk, striking with rapid stabs that Windu could barely keep up with. This was the ultimate test. Light versus dark, Jedi versus Sith, for all the marbles. The battle was fairly even until they reached the grand window. That's when Mace Windu found his advantage, slicing right through the window and allowing the wind and the rain from outside to add a all-new element to their fight. The two warriors clashed their sabers a few more times, but Mace was able to flick his hand perfectly, cutting through Sidious's saber before kicking it down into the corner, then pushing the Sith Lord away into the corner. Windu watched Palpatine crawl away like the weak old man he always pretended to be, and soon lightning was spraying out of his fingers. Mace barely held it back, but soon Palpatine had to let go. He was too weak. He told Windu that if he kills him, the entire Jedi Order will be framed for treason. But Windu didn't care about that right now. He knew what he had to do. He was going to end this once and for all. Windu raised his blade, and Sidious used his final move, reaching a hand out towards one of his statues. A second lightsaber was ripped out of it, spinning towards Sidious's hand, but Windu was too quick. He sliced right through both of Sidious's hands, and the saber spun out of the window as Sidious screamed in pain and anger. Where was Anakin, was all he could think. What could Anakin possibly be doing? And that would be Sidious's final thought, as Windu stabbed right into his heart. It was over, and on the trip back to the Jedi Temple, Mace was trying to mentally figure out where the galaxy goes from here. He would do his best to bring proof of Palpatine's true identity to the Senate, but he knew the Jedi Order as a whole was in danger. He soon entered the temple hangar, and he looked upon hundreds of Jedi as he moved towards the council chambers, all of them so innocent, with no idea as to what's truly going on right now. And when Mace entered the council, he was even more shocked to find Anakin not only still here, but he was completely asleep in his seat. It was almost symbolic, Windu thought. The man creating all of the chaos dies, and perhaps the most restless man Windu ever met was now sleeping in the aftermath of it all. Windu said Anakin's name, and Anakin slowly woke to find the Jedi Master placing 3 lightsabers down on 3 separate chairs. Anakin wanted to panic, but he quickly realized he didn't have any nightmares this time. Windu said it was done. He had no choice but to kill Sidious after seeing what he was capable of. The Sith Lord killed Fisto, Sazi, and Aegon. He was going to kill all of the Jedi if he were left alive. Anakin nodded softly, then said aloud that he was having dark visions while he slept. Until this time, Windu raised his eyebrows and said that perhaps these visions went away as the dark presence clouding the Force was distracted and then killed. It's possible these visions were produced by his hold on the Force. Anakin thought about it, and he felt real, genuine hope that Windu could be right. Padme could be safe after all. And although there were bigger things that Windu would soon have to attend to, he still would now ignite his purple blade and tell Anakin that the Jedi Council will all be in unanimous agreement with his next decision, and by the right of the council, Anakin Skywalker would be made a Jedi Master. These were the words Anakin always wanted to hear, and he would thank Windu genuinely as he left to go begin the galactic politics that would unravel from this moment onward. And over the next few weeks, the galaxy would shift from the brink of darkness to the quiet beginnings of peace. With Palpatine dead and Mace Windu standing as the leader of the Jedi Council and the man who was responsible for killing Palpatine, the Jedi would try to reclaim their role as peacekeepers instead of warriors, though it would not come without heavy scrutiny in the Senate and trials that would last for longer than anyone would have hoped. But at the start of the year, Anakin Skywalker, now a Jedi Master, found himself at a strange crossroads. He had not taken action during Windu's confrontation with Palpatine, and when he awoke and learned that the Sith were gone, he felt peace. Not anger or loss, just peace. He fully expected to feel something more, some sort of darkness tugging at him that had always lingered deep in his heart. But the more Anakin thought about it, the more he realized just how deep Palpatine's manipulations went. Anakin would allow the haze to clear from his appreciation for Palpatine, so he could see just how terrible he truly was for creating the galactic conflict. And with the death of Sidious and Grievous on the same day, the Separatists were in panic. Battles were still raging across the galaxy, on Megiddo, Seleucami, Felucia, other Outer Rim worlds, but the path to victory seemed extremely narrow for them, and it was only getting stronger for the Republic. And Anakin was done fighting, at least for now. Within the restricted archives of the Temple, Anakin finally would gain access to the most secretive Jedi records that were kept anywhere in the galaxy. Ancient scrolls and holocrons from before the High Republic era, legends about old Sith, powers that were either banned or forgotten, and so much more. Anakin skimmed through some old Sith history, also delved deep into the nature of prophecy, the Chosen One, balance, and the Force. He began looking into preventing death, and the old texts forced him to question whether balance truly meant destruction or coexistence. But over time, Anakin would come to one simple conclusion about these texts. They were not exactly page-turners. Still, he was grateful to be here, with all the knowledge he could ever want. And over the next few days across the galaxy, the final battles of the Clone Wars wrapped up with Republic victories. The Separatist command structure fractured, tactical droids and corporate leaders lost coordination, the Separatist war machine collapsed, Obi-Wan returned from Utapau with confirmation of Grievous's death and learned of the death of Palpatine. He was welcomed back by a calmer council, one that knew the war was ending. Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex arrived soon after, bringing Maul captured in the Mandalorian vault. The capture of Maul was critical evidence, as he was injected with a sort of truth serum prototype, and he would tell everything he knew about Palpatine being Sidious. Soon, galactic attention turned solely to Coruscant. Windu led a formal delegation to the Senate, presenting the evidence gathered from Dooku's castle, Maul's interrogation, and the fact that 3 Jedi were killed in Palpatine's office by a lightsaber. They showed how Palpatine, under the name Darth Sidious, orchestrated the entire war, manipulated the Trade Federation and other corporations, corrupted the Senate, trained Dooku as his apprentice. His ultimate goal had been to destroy both the Jedi and the Republic, and to rebuild the galaxy as his own empire. The recordings and the witness accounts left little doubt. Padme Amidala, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma took the lead in rallying the Senate to act. Together with the Jedi, they would draft emergency legislation to restructure the emergency powers of the Republic and create protections to prevent another rise to power like this. The military gradually scaled down. The clone army, still loyal and respected, was granted autonomy and began choosing peaceful futures as citizens, guardians, or settlers. The Jedi Order, while recovering from its brush with collapse, began to reform. It was less rigid, more open, much more willing to listen, and as the war officially ended, and the Jedi Order was deemed innocent for their actions in Palpatine's office, Padme would go into labor with twins. Anakin would be with her the entire time. And during these weeks since falling asleep in the council, Anakin hadn't had any nightmares. It truly was the influence of the Sith that was causing them. So, Anakin was extremely well rested. He was finally able to think clearly once more, and he had no fear today, as in the end, Padme would give a safe birth to twins, Luke and Leia Skywalker. Things were good, Ahsoka had returned to the Order, Anakin and Obi-Wan were back to being great friends, without the war hanging over them. Anakin kept his seat on the council. Even after the council found out the truth about Padme, it all worked out well in the end. And from here, around 6 months of rebuilding efforts across the galaxy would get underway. The Jedi were once more spread thin across the galaxy, but this time they were not fighting. They were helping planets and cities ravaged by the war. Obi-Wan was on Cato Nemoidia, despite it once being a separatist planet, working with Cody and a few hundred clones to rebuild parts of the cities that were destroyed in numerous battles. Plo Koon on Seleucami with 10 younger Jedi, along with the Wolf Pack, helping do the same type of rebuilding and restoration. The same happened with Depa Billaba on Kashyyyk with her Padawan Caleb Doom, Shaak Ti on Sullust with a squad of clones. So many other planets were experiencing the same relief effort, but on Coruscant, Anakin was with Padme and the twins twins when his council transponder began to beep, indicating a mandatory council meeting was being called. Anakin smiled, telling Padme that the council can wait a bit, and he would spend a few extra minutes playing with Luke and Leia. Padme sat next to Anakin, and she asked if today was the day he would tell the council about his choice. Anakin nodded, saying it's time. Today he will inform the council that he's leaving the Order, at least for the time being. Perhaps he will return someday, but Anakin had the family he always dreamt of. He needed to be with them. The Jedi would have to understand. So, Anakin soon got into his speeder, taking off for the Jedi Temple. He was late for the council meeting, but that was rather typical. And in council right now, Jedi Masters Yoda, Windu, Appa Rancis, and Ki-Adi-Mundi were the only ones here in person. The rest of the Jedi Council members were off-world and would be attending the meeting via hologram. They were waiting for Anakin and, strangely, for Coleman Kaj. Coleman was the one who called this meeting, and somehow, he was not yet here. It was rather odd, and Mundi muttered that he has a strange feeling about this. And on one of the tallest towers on Coruscant, the Mandalorian Gar Saxon stood above the dead body of Coleman Kaj. He killed the Jedi Master, then took his council transponder and got the most powerful Jedi together in the same room. Saxon and his most loyal men recently escaped a Republic prison in some Outer Rim world, and they learned that Maul was being kept down here in the lower levels of the Jedi Temple. Despite the constant betrayals, Saxon and his allies still trusted Maul. If there was an award for continuously falling for Maul's manipulations, Saxon would be in first place, and today, he was launching the mission to free Maul. He fired a missile from his jetpack right for the Jedi Council tower, then alerted Rookcast to be ready to fire hers. Inside of the council, Yoda would feel this disturbance, and he saw the missile coming their way. He quickly shattered the windows, and together, he and the other Jedi in here reached out, grabbed the missile with the Force. Saxon then pushed a button to ignite an explosive on the missile, and despite holding it away from the council room, it exploded, and the wave of fire pushed all 4 Jedi to the floor. Then, the second missile came from Rookcast. The Jedi didn't have time to stop this one. It crashed right into the council tower. The tower went up in flames and exploding debris. Outside of the temple, Anakin was flying his speeder when he saw it happen. The council tower erupted, and he was frozen. How could this happen? Who could do this? As Anakin was trying to calm his mind, the answer came to him. Maul. Of course. And Anakin quickly realized the council bombing had to be a distraction. He quickly went right into action, contacting the communications center and telling everyone to get out of the prison area, get every Jedi Master and Jedi Knight up to the main levels, protect the younglings and Padawans, organize search and rescue teams to get up to the council chambers. Anakin said he will go and deal with any invaders. And the Jedi in the temple heard Anakin and didn't hesitate to follow his orders. He was one of the most respected Jedi in the entire order. So as the temple moved to protect the younglings and try to see if any counselors survived, Anakin turned toward the prison level. Meanwhile, Gar Saxon moved silently through the Jedi Temple's ventilation shafts, with Rookcast close behind. The halls above were loud with scrambling Jedi, many of them inexperienced younglings, older elders, or Jedi who just were not meant for combat. The Mandalorians knew that, and that's why they came today. The most powerful of the Jedi here on Coruscant were killed in the Council attack. Yoda, Windu, Skywalker, all dead. At least, that's what they thought. The rest of the powerful Jedi were off-world, helping rebuild war-torn planets. Dropping into the lower levels, the two of them moved quickly through the dark corridors until they reached the Mandalorian Vault, a stasis cell built to contain one man. Maul stood inside, motionless, eyes burning with vengeance. Rook deactivated the security barrier, and the red glow faded. Maul fell to a knee, then stood without a word. Saxon handed him the darksaber, and Maul took it like it belonged to him still. He told Saxon and Rook that their loyalty is to be admired, and they will be key soldiers in the criminal empire that will soon be built for all of them. But as they turned to escape, another explosion ripped through the exhaust pipes above, flooding the prison area with smoke and dust. The room went still. Maul felt a new presence in the Force. Then, a blue blade ignited through the haze. Anakin stepped forward, calm and steady. Maul smiled. The fight they'd both been waiting for had finally arrived, and Maul said he will take great pleasure in gutting the Jedi that Kenobi trained. Anakin said it's funny. He also plans to do this for Kenobi, and he ran in for Maul and the Mandalorians. Anakin lunged forward through the smoke, saber raised in a tight reverse grip, deflecting a blaster bolt from Rookcast, ducking beneath a swiping arc of Gar Saxon's vibroblade. The prison area echoed with the clash of metal and the roar of 4 warriors colliding in battle. Maul ignited the darksaber with a low snarl charging from the left, forcing Anakin to pivot hard, narrowly deflecting the dark blade before twisting into a backward kick that slammed Saxon right into a support column. Rook fired again, but Anakin battered the bolt back into her gauntlet, shorting her weapon with a spray of sparks. Anakin held up his blade as he took a step backward, taking a deep breath. Gathering himself, the initial onslaught was to gauge how everyone was going to fight. Now, he was more than ready, as Maul and the Mandalorians ran back in. Anakin fought defensively now, using his speed to keep the 3 attackers from surrounding him. Maul was relentless, spinning the darksaber in brutal overhead slashes, meant to crush through his defenses. Anakin stayed strong. Saxon came in low, trying to take out Anakin's legs with the vibroblade, while firing a pistol at his chest, while Rook flanked to strike from behind, with a short blade drawn from her boot. Anakin leapt upward, kicking off the wall into a spinning slash, disarming Saxon, sending him crashing to the floor. Rook lunged at his behind, but Anakin caught her wrist mid-strike, flicked her hard into the ground, helmet cracking against the concrete floor. She didn't rise back up. Anakin ripped a cracked beam from the ceiling with the Force, throwing it on top of the 2 Mandalorians. Only Maul remained. They circled each other, blades hissing with each test of guard and power, as they took small strikes at each other before backing up time and time again. Years of history were between them, not directly, but Ahsoka, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan were a huge part of both of their lives, connecting Maul and Anakin indirectly. And soon, Maul struck first with a real aggressive move, lunging with a cross cut that Anakin parried with a brutal 2-handed block. Sparks flew close to Anakin's face. He shifted his grip, catching Maul's follow-up with a low deflection, using his shoulder to bash right into Maul's chest, sending him stumbling backwards. Maul recovered with a spinning strike, but Anakin ducked beneath it, rolled, and then came back up with an arcing slash aimed right for his legs. Maul leapt, barely avoiding it, trying to bring the darksaber down on Anakin's back mid-air, but Anakin turned, catching his blade over his head, locking the 2 of them in a deadly contest of pure strength. Anakin's power surged within him. He forced Maul back, strike after strike, hammering him down, each blow pushing the former Sith closer to defeat. Maul tried to bait him with a feint and a spin, but Anakin anticipated it, sidestepped, and severed Maul's robotic leg right at the joint, slamming the hilt of his saber into Maul's jaw. Maul fell hard, trying to rise back up, rage blazing in his eyes, but Anakin was there already. One final strike would come, fast and clean, and Maul fell for a final time. The temple prison would go quiet once more, and Anakin would soon learn the truth of what happened above. Yoda, Mundi, and Appa were all killed in the blast, but Windu barely survived. He was in critical condition, and when Windu eventually woke up from his unconsciousness, he would find Anakin organizing the temple, directing Jedi to get the rubble out of here, speaking to the Coruscant press about the attack, carrying the load for the entire Jedi Order. And Mace knew who the future of the Jedi had to be. So when Anakin came to him, Windu told Anakin that it's his time to take over as Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Just hours ago, Anakin had intended to leave the Jedi Order altogether, but responsibility called to him. He was a Jedi. He was always meant to be a Jedi, and today he would speak with Padme, as she told Anakin he has no choice. He must accept his destiny. In the years after Anakin became Grand Master, the galaxy would enter a true era of peace. With the council shattered and Windu the sole survivor of this attack, he would step back to allow a new future to take shape. The other counselors would return from off-world, and they would find Anakin Skywalker leading a reformed order, one untethered from politics, focused instead on healing, balance, and service. Jedi were still being sent to rebuild where war had torn worlds apart, and they were known all around the galaxy as guardians of peace once again. Under Anakin's leadership, the Jedi built outposts beyond Coruscant, on Naboo, Ryloth, Kashyyyk, welcoming Force sensitives from across the galaxy. The old ways of the Jedi were softened. Training now emphasized emotional understanding and compassion alongside discipline. Anakin taught from experience, shaping a generation that understood the true cost of power. Ahsoka Tano would become a master, guiding younglings with her own blend of independence and wisdom. Kenobi served as a quiet mentor within the archives, content to teach and reflect. Rex would work across the Mid-Rim, helping build peaceful lives for his brothers. Padme played a key role in rebuilding the Republic, leading reforms to protect individual planets. She still raised Luke and Leia on Coruscant, with the help of Anakin and her handmaidens, but the Force sensitivity couldn't be ignored. At 10, they would begin training under their father and under Ahsoka as Jedi, and the Jedi once seen as relics or weapons were once again symbols of hope. And under Anakin Skywalker's guidance, the galaxy began to believe in the light of the Jedi again. And folks, that is our story for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. It was highly requested for a while, and at first I was kind of like, it's too weird of a concept, it's probably not gonna happen. But then, I don't know, I kept seeing it and just thinking about it and was like, why not? That's, the whole channel is made up stuff anyway, so let's have fun with it. And I think I, made it, blended the serious kind of concept with, or the silly kind of concept with a serious tone in a way, so I had fun with that. I just really wanted to also pursue a story where, there's a breakout with Maul and the Mandalorians, and just kind of have Anakin fight Maul like that, so the way to do that was perfectly in this story, so thought it went well. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. That would be very helpful and awesome and cool. Leave a like if you want, or don't, whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. I quite enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.